Am I wrong for defending my wife after she purposely dumped coffee on a kid? There is a trigger warning for child abuse, so... My wife and I are both 34 and child-free. My brother Mac, 28, started dating a 30-year-old Heather roughly a year ago, and she came with 3 kids. 12-year-old Anna, who is 100% the problem child. The boys, 6 and 8, are great. Anna, on the other hand, purposely does shit to piss people off at every turn and is extremely defiant, and her mother lets her get away with it. We own a camp on the lake, and once a year we host a large barbecue and weekend stay for the entire family. Mac brought Heather and the kids. Anna was a shit all weekend, picking fights with people, throwing tantrums, hitting, etc. And Heather just stood back saying, "I don't know why she acts like that," rather than doing anything to correct her kid. My wife was getting noticeably more pissed off as the hours progressed, but nothing like yesterday. Yesterday, we were all sitting out on the deck talking and enjoying a coffee, and Anna was underfoot per usual. She was told to go play with the other kids several times, and she refused, finding excuses to be involved in the conversation, which included picking up a fly swatter and swatting at flies all around the adult, knocking over our coffees several times. She was also smacking my wife with the swatter repeatedly, saying there were flies on her when there wasn't. My wife at one point looked at Heather and said, "Either get your kid the f*** out of here or I'm going to lose my shit." I also spoke to my brother several times about him stepping in. This was following Anna dumping my wife's fresh coffee all over the place, including on her, for the 2nd time. Heather said in a clipped voice, "Anna, go play." And that was it. Well, Anna comes right back in and slaps my wife on the forehead with the swatter and says, "Bug." Missed him. My wife took her coffee, her 3rd one that she just made, again cold, flung it at Anna, covering her. Anna immediately starts crying and Heather flips out. So does my brother, saying that my wife was an immature and that she's just a kid. My wife calmly puts her cup down and continues the conversation like nothing happened, as Anna, Heather, and Mac are all flipping out. But then Heather says, "Do you have anything to say for yourself?" And my wife says, "Don't let the door hit you and your demon spawn on the ass on the way out." Some of the adults are saying maybe an apology is warranted and that we are the assholes for not giving one. Okay, so he does have a small little edit. There were plenty of times my wife specifically had told Anna to stop, and she had even taken the fly swatter away from her at one point. Anna went and mocked my wife and then grabbed a new swatter while Heather and my brother ignored Anna and what she was doing. Hence why Anna kept doing it. Several times the other adults spoke up to the kid as well and spoke to Heather about her stepping up and telling her kid to stop and actually following through. Many steps were taken before I got to this point. No, my wife shouldn't have had to remove herself from the equation when it's our property and everything was on our dime. My brother and his sorry excuse of a mom girlfriend should have corrected the issue from the beginning. 12 is plenty old enough to know right from wrong. Even her brothers don't pull that shit. Just a quick add, it is not my wife's job to set an example, like some of you are saying. We are kid-free for a reason. Anna and her sorry excuse of a mother were warned several times by my wife, me, and other adults. Beyond that, it's a them issue.
I found out he was cheating because of a tampon. Story time. I've been married to Steve for 4 years now, and everything had been absolutely fine. Even Steve would say that we were still in our honeymoon phase all these years on. Never thought to even question this until I found a little surprise in his car. So randomly one day I sat in the back of my own car, which can we just talk about what a weird experience that is? And I found a tampon squished in between the cushions between the seats. Now this wouldn't have been a red flag if it weren't for the fact that I'd had the coil for the past 3 years. I literally could not even tell you what brand it was from the wrapper. So I brought this to Steve's attention that night. And of course, being a man, he had no clue what it was. Nor did he understand the significance of it either. Fucking idiot. So I dumbed it down for Steve. I explained everything, why I was holding it, why I wouldn't need to use it. And he was like, "Oh, that'll be Amy's." And Amy is his co-worker. Apparently they'd all gone out for lunch together one day and she sat in the back of the car. And I'm fairly close to Amy and her husband, so I figured it was a reasonable excuse. So I let it go. I almost forgot about it, to be fair. Then one day we were having dinner with Amy and her husband around her house. But throughout the meal, I was just getting a vibe. Can't tell you what the vibe was. I faked coming on my period a little bit early and I was like, "Amy, listen, have you got any tampons that I could use? Call me Sherlock Holmes." And then she took me to her bathroom and pulls out the cupboard the exact same tampon that was in my husband's car. So the tampon in the car was most likely Amy's. An innocent explanation to all of this, right? Wrong. This morning, I found another one of the exact same tampons in my underwear drawer. Instantly, I felt physically ill. And I am convinced that this girl is leaving me little signs that my husband is actually having an affair. It feels like a weird Easter egg hunt. So now, these are my questions. If it really is Amy having the affair with my husband, why would she try and tell me via tampon? And also, she's married, so why would she want to sort of out herself? Then again, is it too big of a coincidence? Or is it somebody else completely, and should I start leaving little Easter eggs for her? Do I leave notes attached to the tampon like, hi, stop getting with my husband please? Or do I just confront Steve about the whole thing now? Please help me.
So when I was born, my dad didn't believe I was his. Slay. Oh, he kind of spent my mom's whole pregnancy not being around because he was like, girl, like, that's not my kid. My mom's like, dude, this is your kid. Then the day came where my mom pushed me out of her whole baloney pony. My dad saw me for the first time and was like, all right, I guess that's my kid. She looks just like me. Or whatever. I was like, cool, yeah, this is your kid. Can we, like, be together then? Can we, like, maybe have, like, a family or whatever? And my dad was like, yeah, slay. I got married when I was 4, and then they got divorced when I was 5. So my dad moved out to Pennsylvania, and I really only ever saw him around summertime or Christmas, which then meant that every day I spent was with women. I had a sister, a mom, and a grandma who was a lesbian who was married to a woman. So my whole life was spent around women, just loving women. Went to my first ever Pride Fest when I was, like, 6, because my grandma was like, slay, we're here queer and without fear, baby. Basically, my mom was a single mom with 2 kids to 2 separate baby daddies. Sorry, Mom, I didn't mean to expose you like that. And my mom was pregnant at 16 with my sister, so my mom really had to do the damn thing. You know, my mom really had to hustle her ass off. My mom decided to go to hair school when I was like 5, I think. I don't really remember. When she would leave hair school, she would go straight to her waitressing job because my mom is a hustler. I lived in government subsidized housing, and when you live in government subsidized housing, like, the whole neighborhood helps raise every kid. I grew up with like 10 separate moms. Like, all our neighbors were my mom. This lifestyle really took its toll on my mom's body though, and she ended up addicted to pills because her body just like was falling apart. My mom really was addicted to pills for as long as I could remember. I remember just thinking that it was okay because they were in prescription bottles. So like, mommy's taking her medicine, like, slay. When I was like 7, she met my stepdad. His name was Timmy. He was really fucking young. He lied about how old he was. Basically had like a whirlwind romance. When I tell you they were like twin flames, like they would fucking fight. But he would always be like, look how fucking gorgeous your mother is. He was from Staten Island, if you couldn't tell. And he was around until I was literally 17, 18. He was one of the best people I'd ever met, but because of his addiction, a lot of the time he was also one of the worst people I've ever met. With my mom's pill addiction and his addiction of choice, it really was just kind of a turbulent household sometimes. We were always fighting. He was always in and out of the house because he was always relapsing. One of the times that they had broken up, they broke up for a pretty extended period of time, and when he came back around, he had a kid, and we honestly instantly fell in love with her. And that's actually Ariana, who's in a lot of my videos. We ended up going to jail, and my mom and him broke up for a really long time, and we just kept having Ariana because she was family. Like, you're our family. My mom had really killed it in the industry. She was a very popular hairstylist in our area, and that was before social media, so it's like, when I was 16, I decided to move out of the house and actually live with one of my family members because me and my mom were fighting all the fucking time, and I was at a time where I was trying to overcome my sexual assault. So I just really needed to find myself. I really needed to find who I was. This was like my partying, smoking all the time, drinking all the time era. Oh, you were underage. Yeah, okay, fuck off. I ended up moving back home at the end of summer and found out that my mom and Timmy were back together. It's been like 3 years since they broke up, so I was really fucking pissed off at this. But within that same year, my mom decided to quit her pills. She hit menopause, we lost our house, and our family dog died. Timmy relapsed and moved back out to Staten Island, and my mom went into a manic psychosis. She met this really rich Harvard graduate online, and they started dating, and he offered her the fucking world. Me and her were both left homeless, so that was a slay. I was homeless when I graduated high school, and I got really involved in the church when that happened. Rich Harvard graduate decided to buy my mother a house, but the condition was that I couldn't live in their house. I had to live in his studio apartment that he had paid the rent on. I was like, fucking fine, perfect. Only problem is, a couple months later, we found out that he was a child predator. With all these crazy changes and trauma in my mom's life, she went into a really severe manic psychosis that lasted 5 years. I thought I had lost my mother completely. It was a really traumatizing time. I actually didn't talk to my mom for 2 years straight. She had thought I stole her identity during this time. She had like a fake British accent. It was really fucking weird. It was really hard to deal with. I literally had to mourn my mother as if she had passed away, and that was really fucking hard for me because I was at the age where that was not what I wanted to deal with. And I was still struggling to exist because I wasn't allowed to work in high school, so I had no money saved up when I became homeless. 2022, she had come to my house in a psychosis after 2 years of no contact. Almost died a couple days prior. She was beat up in the street by a grown man who ripped out half of her hair. A very traumatic brain injury, and she had now a twitch. The only thing I knew to do, and I called the police on her to have her mental health arrested, which by the way didn't work the 3 other times I tried. It was completely failed by the fucking system, and I won't even talk about that right now. But luckily, I met a very kind officer who was actually willing to help my family. A month of rehabilitation, and she's been good ever since, and then I blew up on TikTok. It was really divine timing because the time that she came back was the time I really fucking needed her. I had just gone through the biggest betrayal of my life and lost my childhood best friend. So out of nowhere, my mom gets the help she needs. I blow up on TikTok and make it my job, and because of that, I'm able to spend the last year and a half just rebuilding that relationship with her, experiencing life with my mother again, and because of you guys, that's possible. I'm so eternally grateful for this job and this opportunity, and it's fucking weird that this is the way that my life has turned out.
So basically, let's fast forward to October of last year. So I went out for my best friend's birthday at a club in Montreal. And I brought with me a good old fake YSL bag. And this wasn't just like a really good fake bag. This was like a horrible fake. Like, it was really bad. My sister's friend gave it to her and I took it. And I brought it with me to the club. At said club, I left it at the booth with my wallet, my cards, my keys, pretty much everything that made me a person. And well, one thing led to another, you can assume what happened. It got stolen. Now, the funny thing about when it got stolen is very weird. When I noticed it got stolen, I think it was within like 20 minutes, and I blocked my debit card right away. And I was looking, and I saw that there was attempt of charges at like Co-op West Island. And for those of you that don't know, Co-op West Island is essentially just a taxi service in the West Island. So I had assumed that it would be someone who stole it. Definitely was from the West Island. But whatever. It was my fault. I was the one that left my bag. I take full responsibility. I obviously report that my bag is missing. Not like the police are actually going to be able to do anything. Now, fast forward 6 months later, we still have a mailbox open for my grandfather. Even though he passed away, we still have it open. And my dad went to go check it one day, and then he opens the box, and there it is, my keys. My keys at the time had these tags on it that would deliver it or ship it to your house or something like that. It's basically like a key protection thing. So if you find someone's keys, just drop them in the mailbox, and it'll somehow get back to them. That happened 6 months later. My keys were returned, but on my wallet, my bag, I had all my friends' car keys in that bag. Everything I owned was in that bag. Let's fast forward to August. I came home from vacation and I ordered myself an iPad. With said iPad, I was gonna have it shipped to my house, but I wasn't home because it was such an expensive product. Purelator automatically Purelator already technically ships it back to the company, and then you have to go and pick it up. I received a notification that my package had been attempted to be shipped, but I wasn't home, so now it's at Purelator, so I have to go pick it up. Not a problem. I've done that with pretty much all my things, my iPhone, all that stuff. So this wasn't very new to me. So I pull up the next day, and I walk in and I'm like, hi, like I'm here for my package, and the girl goes, oh, someone already picked it up. So I was like, what? I was like, excuse me, like, aren't I supposed to give you a photo ID, like, that matches the address on file? She goes, no, we just need, like, an ID, like, with the address or something like that. And I started freaking out, and I was like, wait a minute, you gave my iPad away to someone else that had my ID. Am I hearing this correct? She's like, yeah, this happens all the time. You need to call the police. So first I call my dad, bawling my eyes out. I'm like, Dad, like someone stole my iPad. But I wasn't even worried about that. I was worried about the fact that someone had my ID and somehow knew that I ordered an iPad and it was shipped to Purelator. Someone who was there that night that my stuff got stolen somehow knew about this. So the cops, I call the police and I'm like, hi, like someone stole my iPad and I was told to call the police, whatever. They obviously didn't show up that day because, well, they have more important stuff to deal with. So I came back the next day and I skipped school and I waited 5 hours for the cops to show up. Finally, the cops show up and I'm talking to them and we're just kind of going over like all the details and everything. He goes back in to talk to the cashier, and keep in mind, my dad came to the Purelator the day before, and he walked in with me. We went to go talk to the cashier, and my dad was like, why would you give away an iPad to someone else? It literally says on the package, you cannot give it away without a photo ID with the address. She goes, oh, this happens, like, all the time. Like, no. Excuse me, why does this happen all the time? Why aren't you checking IDs? My name had to be on that ID, along with the picture and my address. So why would you give it out? Whatever, my dad obviously got mad at the lady, and the same lady was working the next day. So the cop goes to talk to her, and he's like, you have to stay outside. So I was like, okay, I'll stay outside. So he goes to talk to her, and he's asking about, like, what happened and everything. It was the same cashier that I had spoken to that day and whatever. And I asked her, I was like, are you the one who did it? She's like, no, it wasn't me, whatever. She talks to the cop. The cop is like, explain to me the story. She goes, someone walked in with her learner's permit. My learner's permit. My freaking learner's permit. Someone walked in with my learner's permit and was like, hi, I'm here to pick up an iPad. And the cashier later was like, oh, like, this is weird, like, no, like, something about my address. I didn't really understand what the cop was saying. It was in French. And then a cashier was like, I need something else, like, with your address on it. Like, do you have another form of ID? And then the person was like, no, all I have is my learner's permit. And apparently she went back into her car for 20 minutes and then came up with this, like, fake Hydro-Quebec bill with my address on it. Keep in mind, I'm 20. I don't pay that. So then she comes back and she shows the Hydro-Quebec bill and she goes, here you go. And then the lady's just like, oh, that's like all I needed. It's not like your photo doesn't match the person's photo on the ID or anything. Here's a freaking $1,000 iPad. So I lost my iPad. And the cops have been working on it for like a couple months now. I haven't really heard much. From what I've heard and what they believe, they think that it's all about Purelator. I thought that it was someone that I knew that stole the iPad. At first, I was like fully convinced it was someone I knew because I posted on my private story I was getting an iPad. They knew that I had to go pick it up at Purelator. They were there the night that my stuff got stolen. It was just like really weird. Like I was convinced it was this person. But the cops confirmed that it wasn't. So slay. But I still think it's really weird how this person had my learner's permit, knew that my iPad was coming in from Purelator, and then picked it up. Keep in mind, 10 minutes before I got there. Like I said, I haven't really heard much. This happened like 5 months ago. But the cops have basically told me they believe it's a Pure Later inside situation. So if anyone is ordering packages, like expensive packages, and it's getting shipped to Pure Later, don't let that happen. Ship it literally anywhere else other than Pure Later. Because Pure Later is most likely stealing your packages and the cashiers are most likely in on it. Pure Later, if you guys are watching this, I want my freaking iPad back. So that's my little story time. I did get a new iPad in the end, but it's just like unfortunate situation. And you guys have a lot of questions in the comments about the cameras and all that, so I thought I would just answer them here. So when I went the next day and I met up with the cop, I asked him to go look at the footage. So he tried to. He said that was the first thing that he asked, but the cashier, and keep in mind this was the same cashier that most likely was the one that was like part of the entire operation. She said that they needed like a warrant to look at the footage, and then the cop was like, no, not really, like we could just kind of look at the footage if we want. And apparently she like fully refused to show him the footage, and she was like, no, like you need a warrant, we deal with this all the time, which is like not a flex, like why would you say that? But anyway, she was like, we deal with this stuff all the time, like you absolutely need a warrant to look at the footage and stuff like that. And to be honest with you, I never heard from the cops if they actually ended up looking at the footage. And keep in mind, this happened in October, so every time I've called and I'm like, oh, can I have like an update on what's happening or something like that, they're like, oh, like it's an inside job, don't worry, it's been taken care of. This happened to me in like October, it's now January, and I've asked to see the footage like a million times. They literally won't show me it. And the day that the whole thing happened, my dad and I like went in to talk to the cashier because we were like so upset about the situation. And this other Pure Later guy, like, came out and he was talking to us. And he was like, oh, like, what happened? Because, like, there was yelling. Like, we fully caused a scene. I don't care. Y'all can call me Clarence. I was freaking pissed off. Why isn't this? Okay. Anyways, this Pure Later guy comes out and he's, like, talking to us. And he's like, oh, like, we saw, like, a white Jetta or a gray Jetta or something like that. So they gave us, like, what kind of car it was. But again, I told the cops all the information. They were all like, oh, it's speculation, like, nah. Because like I said, guys, I fully thought that this was someone that I knew. And I was telling the cop, and I was like, hello? And they were like, no, like, that's all speculation. I don't really know, to be honest. So I haven't really heard anything about the cameras. Every time I call, like I said, they literally don't answer me. It's been like 6 months. I haven't really heard anything about it. Like I said, they think it's inside. They were like fully convinced. I mean, it could very well be someone that I know. And this person's most likely watching my videos right now. So like, if it is you, just like tell me that you're the one who stole it. But whatever. I'm kind of over the entire situation. Also, there's a lot of comments saying that I said fast forward. My bad. I was saying that a year ago in October, my stuff got stolen. Fast forward to October of this year, this happened. Sorry, my bad. I should have said backwards. And the amount of comments I'm getting about that. Like, guys, stop! Anyways, there's not really much of an update. Like, I don't really know what's happening. The cops have probably forgot about it because it's not that important. And to be honest, I kind of forgot about it because I have a new iPad now. Like, Rogers reimbursed me. And a lot of you were saying that this was like, this happened often. That's just crazy. This should not be happening.
Am I the asshole for bringing up my brother's premature birth at Christmas dinner to get my parents to shut up? I am a nurse practitioner and I am a primary care provider for a lot of low-risk maternity cases at the practice where I work. I also work hand in hand with the doctors and midwives to create a healthy maternity, birth, and postpartum situation. My fiance is completing her residency. We live together and have for a few years now. We aren't in any hurry to get married. We originally had plans to do so a couple of years ago, but then we got really busy for 2 years. It is driving my very religious parents crazy that their youngest son is living in sin. I don't really care. I'm an adult and I do what I want. We are getting married in June. So we are visiting my parents for Christmas. The way it came together this year, everyone is at my parents' house. So that's my folks, my 3 siblings, myself and fiance, and 7 grandchildren. So 17 people total. At dinner, my mom starts going on about how she is so glad that we are finally getting married and she won't be embarrassed at church anymore. And my dad says how proud he is of one of his 3 older kids who all either waited to get married before moving in together or got married right away after moving in together. My fiance was getting embarrassed and I was getting mad over this stupid argument we have had too many times before. And a family dinner was the last straw. I have asked them repeatedly to just accept that they cannot control how I live my life. I refuse to stay with them when I visit, even if I come alone. Hotels are just easier. So I started talking about a premature baby I had been reading reading about. It was almost 3 months premature and weighed about 1.6 pounds. It was super strong and healthy for being born so little, and the NICU had high hopes for the baby doing well. My mom and dad both got deer in the headlights look on their faces. Too bad. Should not have fucked around with my fiance's feelings. So I asked about my older brother. He was born almost 4 months premature. Is there a chance that we could check out the family album where we keep all the records of family births and stuff? I already know my brother was over 9 pounds and almost 23 inches long when he was born. My grandmother told me all about it the first time my parents tried to shame me. The subject gets changed very fast. After supper, my parents told me that I should not try to embarrass them with private things that are not my concern. I told them that if I heard anything about my living arrangements ever again for the rest of my life, I would make sure to keep bringing up the fact that my mom was in her second trimester when they got married. My parents are mad at me for telling them how to behave in their own home, but my fiance is happy that they seem to be off the subject for good. Am I the asshole?
There's just a list of things that I'll never get over. Male edition, like things that men have done that I'm just like, what the absolute fuck? Number one thing I would say is like when my ex lied about his grandma dying. It's just like, why? Like you have to be such a special kind of like fucked up. You're in a loving, committed relationship and you're lying to me about your grandmother dying. Like what is the need? Like there's no need. Then imagine how stupid I look telling my friends and family. They're like, why'd you guys end? And I'm like, he lied about his grandma dying. They're like, wait, what? I'm like, no further questions. Like, I'm embarrassed. This list is really random. So the next one, man I was seeing, he was sober and he was like, yeah, I'm sober. And there's like California sober where you like you don't drink alcohol, but you still smoke, which is like so valid. Talking about how he was at the club one night. I was like, God, that's so hard to just like watch everyone do all like these drugs and like drinking shit and you just don't. He was like, oh no, I still do blow. I'm like, what the fuck? I just thought that was the weirdest thing possible. Like, how are you going to be sober because you want to like really focus on your mental health and like your body and not put anything bad in it, but you're railing lines? That is quite literally boy math. Like that makes absolutely no sense. And I'm not like super familiar with it, so I was like, okay, whatever, maybe that's normal. But then I was telling associates who are familiar with it and they were like, no, that's really fucking weird. Like why did he do that? And I was like, he just said he didn't want to feel left out. Like, I don't fucking know. I just found it so weird. I'll like never get over that. Like, you're just sober railing lines. Take the tequila shot. It's a lot less, like it's way less worse than English. It's not as bad. Next one is actually like so embarrassing. It's not even funny. The time a man made me pay on a date because he said it was his turn to be spoiled. And you guys wonder why I have like little to no respect for men sometimes. And it's like, I had a man tell me that he wants to be fucking spoiled. Like, what are you? Like, you're a little bitch then. For a grown ass man to say the words, I wanna be spoiled, you deserve jail. I quite literally thought he was joking. Like leading up to this date, I thought it was a joke because who the fuck says something like that? Like what grown ass man says something like that? This dumb fuck did. This weird motherfucker thought this was a good thing to say. It's like, you want me to eat you out too, babe? You want me to pay your bills too? What else do you need? You want to be spoiled? Should I buy you flowers? Like grow the fuck up. Go switch it up a little. Here are some things I've done to men that it's like, Livy, what the fuck? One time I was ending things with a guy and I was just like, yeah, like I just don't think we're each other. So mind you, this is how the fuck I said it. I just think we're blocking each other from like meeting our soulmates. Like I think we're just standing in the way of each other, like meeting our soulmates. And he was like, well, did you meet yours? And I was like, no, because you're in the way, babe. Like you're in the fucking way. So while I was ending things with him, no, and like this is fucked up. Like, and I get that. I did make him take a bunch of photos of me. I was like, wait, real quick, can we just like get this photo of me on the roof? And he was like, wait, but can we like talk about this? I was like, yeah, just get the photo. I like genuinely saw nothing wrong with that until last year. And I was like, Livy, why did you make that man take photos of you while you were ending things with him? And you're like, I wasn't even an influencer at this time. Like it was really just, but I was always an influencer in my fucking mind. I was like, I gotta get the fit. Like I gotta get the fit pic for the gram, babe. Like I just do, like they need to see it. Thank you. And yeah, you're just really blocking me from meeting my soulmate. We're done here. I'll also never get over the one time I told a man on Hinge I was blind and he believed me. It wasn't like I started the conversation like, hi, I'm blind. He was like, I like your eyes. And I was like, thank you, they're fake. And he was like, oh my God, like where'd you get them? I'm like, no, like I'm blind. And he like genuinely believed that I was blind. And I was like, how does he think I'm typing right now if I'm blind? Like what the fuck? And I don't even know how something like that comes to my mind. Like I have no idea how I thought it. I was like, yeah, that's a good idea. Let me tell this motherfucker I'm blind. Honestly, it was such an ick that he believed it. And you're like, you're the one that, I know. But what an ick to really believe I was blind. This next one, I'll never forgive you guys for this because it really was your fault. I made a TikTok. Okay, it was my fault too. Like, I'm just gonna blame someone. It was my fault too. Like, I did make a TikTok about this man and you guys were like, oh my God, he's your soulmate. Like, you have to go hang out with him. And like, I fucked him. He was like an old fling of mine. And I like fucked him and I was like, oh my God, I remember why I ended things with him because it was the worst sex ever. And I was like genuinely so annoyed because I was like, I would have never fucked him if TikTok didn't convince me. That's like, I literally broke like a 6-month celibacy thing too. It wasn't really celibacy. It was just like, I hadn't been fucked in like 6 months and I literally broke that to have just like the most horrible, boring sex. So I listened to you bitches and I was really just like, because like I'm delusional and shit and you guys were like, he's your soulmate. I'm like, they could be right. Like, they could be right. And nobody told me, like, me to fuck him. I was just like, why not? And I was like, oh, that's why not. That's why you don't do that. You didn't even like the sex when you were with him, Livy. That is why. And those are just some things that I'll just never get over. From my perspective and things that men have just said where I'm like, bitch, what the fuck?
I tried to get revenge by cheating on my boyfriend. Turns out I was just the one in the wrong. Story time. So my boyfriend Steve, who I love so much, was on a work training trip. He was supposed to come home on Wednesday evening. But I spent literally the whole day getting ready. I wanted to be my best self. Because he'd been away a while, you know? That was until I got a call from him telling me that his flight was delayed till the next day. And that was when I heard a woman's voice in the background. And she said, let's go back to the hotel. I was furious. I was like, this boy has been cheating on me whilst I've been out here trying to make myself look 10 times hotter than I already did. I told my best friend to tell her boyfriend to bring his hottest friend. That night, me and the friend got spicy. The next day, Steve arrived at my house. I was supposed to pick him up from the airport, but I left that cheating boy at the airport. I was not giving him any lifts. I answered the door in just my t-shirt. He tried to kiss me, but I was having none of it. He asked if I was pissed off because he was a day late. And I was like, no, Steve, I'm pissed off because you cheated on me. I heard the other woman's voice. He swore that nothing happened and that the voice was actually a co-worker's wife. And I was giving him all the sass. I was like, okay, Steve, whatever. I was going in on this poor guy. Before he left, he apologized and said that he did not cheat on me and he would never cheat on me. He said he can completely understand how it sounds. And he even left a phone number in my phone so I could ring the guy's wife if I needed to. He then went on to show me his call log and showed me that I was the only person that he'd called that night. And it was at this point that I realised I had messed up. The wife told me literally the exact same thing as what Steve had said. She even went on to tell me how Steve had been turning down other women at the bar, he'd been showing everybody pictures of me, and now I really don't know what to do because I cheated on my boyfriend because I thought he cheated on me, and he still doesn't know. Why would you move so quick? I admire the level of proactiveness here, girl, but you've got to let him say his piece first. You are in a lot of mess. And if it was so easy for you to make that decision to just cheat on him like that, relationship needs to end. Let me know what you think in the comments.
I, 26 male, slept in the same bed as my mom, 49 female, while she was staying in town. My girlfriend, 24 female, finds it odd. My girlfriend and I have been dating for about 4 months now. My mom was coming into town and planned to stay with a friend of hers, but the train got delayed so late that the friend couldn't pick her up. I went to pick her up and she asked if she could stay the night at my apartment. I said yes, of course. This all happened when I was hanging out with my girlfriend. The conversation went like this. My girlfriend said, "Are you sleeping in the same bed as her?" "Yes." "That's weird." "What are you gonna do? Have sex with your mom? Don't you think that's weird?" "No." "I don't know where this is coming from. It's just sleeping in the same bed. My mom and I have never had that type of relationship and it's gross that you would suggest that." My girlfriend said, "I don't know. It seems weird to me. My family has always been close. We are tighter knit than a lot of families and sometimes it can make people jealous of our kinship. We travel together all the time and get hotels with 2 queen beds where I would stay in the same bed as my sister, 22 female. I don't see sleeping in the same bed as a family member being weird. I would rather sleep in my bed than sleep on the couch or kick my mom onto the couch." Fast forward to today. She's still sending jabs through messages asking if my mom and I played footsies last night in bed and asking if I was going to change the sheets or if I preferred my mom's smell on them. I told her that the comments were making me uncomfortable and I'd prefer if they stopped. She then goes on to tell me that she's just not getting the clarity on how this relationship is any different from her ex's relationship with his mother, saying that her ex was very close with the mom and the mom did not like her at the end of the relationship, calling her explicit names and judging her from something that my girlfriend told her ex and her ex told the ex's mom. Something she won't tell me because it's the reason that it ended the past relationship. She also said the main reason that she's upset about this topic is the dynamic of the enmeshment was a horrible experience for her. I'm not sure of my girlfriend's relationship with her parents. We met on a dating app and we're learning as we go. It seems to me that their family is not as close as mine. Do you think it's the reason that she thinks it's weird? Is she intimidated or jealous of my mom? It seems like she wants me to distance myself from my mother to not be like her ex. All this to say, should I be worried about this from her? Is this a red flag?